Hi, I'm Dexter Gelfand. I'm known for my practice of therapeutic spiritual counseling, and I'm going to speak on religion, spirituality, and cults. Very simply, a cult is that which doesn't allow for free thinking, particularly about whatever the key subject of the cult may be, but tends to branch out and cover a lot of other areas. Any group or source that claims to have the one answer to life, as if there was one way, that is a cult. It closes you off to all the other sources and life experiences one could learn from and continue to grow and develop their own opinion. See, life and spirituality is always about growth. It's about more enlightenment. It's about the true principle that everything in life is always a work in progress. There is no dead ending in perfection. There is no perfect system, okay? Anybody and everything is something one can learn from. Even these cults typically contain a lot of good principles, information, ideas, and maybe even techniques mixed into their system or quilt. The trouble is that every good element within these things serves to bind the person to accept the whole package. Accepting the whole package is always a dangerous thing. I don't recommend accepting any whole package of anything, but what is profitable and sane is to maintain your sovereignty and open to all sources of learning and information. And within any system or group, be it the Catholic Church, be it the Church of Scientology or Alcoholics Anonymous or any of these things that say all the answers spring from here, and any other source of how to live or what to believe will only mislead you, okay? Any of those things, they still typically contain some useful information. But the real trick is to maintain your sovereignty and to examine each thought, each element, each principle, each idea, each way of doing something individually, and not arriving at accepting all of it or rejecting all of any system. Okay? There is no perfect system. I know of many paradigms, many systems for enlightenment, for resolving one's issues, for relieving anxiety, pain, discomfort, spiritual and mental negative structures, and so forth. You know? And frankly, they all have some truth, they all have some value. But there are no final and ultimate answers. There simply is no such thing. I'm very proud of what I've developed. I have some wonderful techniques, and I believe I can help anybody who comes to me to accomplish what they are in front of me to accomplish. I really do. However, part of the reason why I become as good as any of my participants would tell you is because I never ever feel like I've got all the answers. I'm always open to growth and improvement, whether it comes from other people, and I can learn something useful in what I do from a casual conversation with anybody. Somebody can just say something, I'll say, that idea has merit. I can use that because that applies to all people, and I can develop a better process for resolving fear with that perspective of what that person said to me. I'm always open to such things. I've learned from people who developed their own paradigms, their own systems of spiritual release or liberation. Each of them apparently suffering from some degree of what's called founder syndrome, you know, where they feel like they've learned it all, they've put it all together in a final and best possible form, and that everyone should simply take what they give, the way they give it, accept it fully, live by it, practice it, and never dare to examine it with the idea that it can be changed in any way. Having had some experience with my passage in Scientology, I know how that feels. I know what that's like. I was very invested in that for a good while. I learned a lot of useful things. Truthfully, I don't regret it at all. Any more than I would regret any other passage in my life. It was a learning experience. I took away some great things from that. Later on, I reworked things. I used some of those principles and techniques, but changed them, weeded out all the elements of control, creating blind trust and submissiveness, anything that made a person feel that the answers came from an external source, or that some instrument or other person could better know what they should be addressing, what they needed to resolve, or how they needed to resolve it better than them. And that has served me well. Also, I've derived from many other sources. I could tell you the good, bad, and the ugly of many things, including Scientology. But the point is just to differentiate, to be able to look at any system, any religion, any system of thought or improvement, and be able to cherry pick. Just look through there and say, okay, that I get. That I see the value of. That I like, okay? That doesn't mean you have to accept the rest of the package. Never accept the whole package, always a mistake. And some of the things to watch out for in terms of, like, what makes something a cult? Well, as I said, if it tells you that all the answers come from them and nowhere else, they might not immediately put that message out, or they may immediately put that message out when you walk in the door or see the advertisement. Either way, it is a red flag. It's a huge red flag. And if they can subsume your loyalties to friends and family, or to life experiences, or to other sources of information, well, you need to recognize that and pull back. A lot of very, very intelligent people have fallen under the spell of some form of seduction, be it religious, more obviously cult-oriented, or even romantic. We are, regardless of how intelligent we are, we can all be susceptible to various forms of seduction. So when you found that this has happened to you, you've been seduced to go along with something or someone, and later it turned out to be very damaging and bad. It's no reason to think of yourself as being foolish or stupid, because intelligence has nothing to do with it. It's something we're all susceptible to, because we have triggers. We have emotional triggers. We have areas in which there is fear and pain, in which almost, any answer offered the right way will seem very enticing, and we all have aspirations, we all have goals. There are ways in which we all want to be great and serene and happy and live a great life, and these aspirations, as well as the fears and the pain, these things can be used to manipulate us. They can even be used with good intentions to ultimately be manipulating us. I think that the large majority of people who would take a position of authority within what could be called a cult could be said to be well-meaning. Of course, they're seeing and speaking through the filters of their own issues, but so are we all, most of the time, or a good part of the time. Anyway, the real thing to watch out for is, if you are led to believe you're better than other people, if you're led to believe that without being accepted and staying a follower of some system or group, that you will be lost forever and never achieve the heights that can only be achieved through that paradigm, okay, that's false. That's a trap. Always. Doesn't mean there's not a lot of value in that path. That's part of the trap, intentionally or otherwise. And again, there's nothing wrong with cherry picking through there and saying, here's something I can use. Here's another thing I can use. But I think we're always best served by staying open to changing our minds about things. We might have a very good principle or idea, but there might be a point when we look at it and discard it for one that's more encompassing, or that works out better. So one shouldn't be too fixed in their ideas, or accept ideas or principles that are imposed on us, or offered to us, or shoved at us to be principles to go through life with, unchallenged and uninspected. Okay? Growth comes about through change, willingness to see things differently. It's called epiphanies or revelations or realizations. And the more you are open to such new recognitions, rather than letting some fear or pain bind you to the mental solution that you've had or been offered, well, the happier you're going to be in the long run. The most important things are to not be swayed to believe that you're better than other people because of such a belief, association, or activity. There's no such thing as being better than other people. We'd all be better off if we could drop the idea of holier than thou or better than other people. And where it really gets dangerous is where some group can get so inside you with the idea that the facts and truth all come from them, and that you need them, and that you must be loyal to them. And there's always peer pressure elements in there too. There's always peer pressure of not being accepted anymore by your support system. And you have to be willing to experience that if you're going to regain or maintain your sovereignty. It's necessary. So when you find yourself in the position of being told that, you know, your mother, your child, your father, your brother, somebody is just evil, you know, or in some bad mindset that they must not be associated with for your own good or such a thing, you're being misled, you know. And I've seen this happen so many times. Of course, my main frame of reference is what I've seen happen to people in relation to the Church of Scientology. Mothers who cry every night because their children won't speak to them and haven't in years. They ignore their phone calls and letters. Ex-spouses, spouses, parents, children, brothers, sisters. It's really tragic when such a thing happens. And like I said, we're all susceptible to such things. Doesn't make us foolish, doesn't make us less intelligent than anyone else. But if you find yourself in such a situation where you're wholly rejecting somebody who loves you, a loved one, because it's quote unquote for the greater good, or it's necessary, or it's the only way, it's never too late to re-examine the mind trap you've invested yourself in, and make no mistake about it. If you've become in that mindset, there were points where you made a choice to submit, you know, and pressure was involved in that. But it's always okay. You can always reverse course. You always maintain the human right to change your mind, recognize your loved ones, and reconnect. And that right there, that situation where your loyalty is subsumed by another source, that is the most definable way to recognize that you are in a cult. If you find yourself dismissing with hostility people that would otherwise be recognized as your good friends, even if that's through a political viewpoint, that is a cult phenomenon. And if it's a cult phenomenon, it means that your emotions and your sovereign viewpoint have been and are being subsumed. Okay? It does involve some submission and agreement on your part, but it's that free will that was exercised there that is your way out as well. So let's all try to work towards connection, acceptance, love, loyalty to all of our loved ones, and a willingness to accept all other viewpoints, take what we will from them without ever being subsumed by them. And therein is growth, and therein is happiness and spirituality, which cults only appear to offer. Thanks for listening.